Always Mr. Negative. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is April 21st, 2026 at 6 p.m. And I will ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all. Looks like we have quite a few folks here to speak, which will be great. First thing up is amendment and approval of the agenda. I have two amendments that I'd like to place on the consent agenda.
Okay.
They would be consent agenda O and P. And it is one is the CAFA grant application prepared by Assessment and Taxation. They were unable to get it in time because they were some budget stuff. Mm-hmm. And the other one is a promotion of Trista Donaldson to Chief Deputy Clerk from Deputy Clerk 3. So I'd like to add the CAFA grant as consent agenda item O and Trista Donaldson's promotion to Chief Deputy Clerk as P.
Okay, and I don't have any amendments.
Nor I.
I'll make a motion then to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Any further discussion?
No.
I'll call for the question. Commissioner Coker?
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger?
Yes.
And I as well. And let's see. Next up is we have presentations. National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And I've seen got my button. I've seen these all over. So I will ask Miss Amy Gaddis Parker to come up and speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I did leave you a button up there for each of you, handed them out to people. And I also, you'll have one of our posters with our presentation on the other side. If anybody would like those, it also includes the contact information. So good evening, Commissioners, County Council, Curry County residents and viewers. I'm Amy Gaddis Parker, and I am the victim advocate for the Curry County Juvenile Department. I'm here tonight to speak about National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is April 19th through the 25th of 2026. This is the 45th year of NCVRW as it began in 1981 to honor victims and survivors of crimes, raise awareness of victims' rights and services, and recognize the dedication of those who work with crime victims. This year's theme for NCVRW is listen, act, and advocate. Protect victims, serve communities. This annual observance challenges us to build a world where we take the time to listen, act, and then advocate. Every connection built through the survivors, the advocates, and the communities holds the potential to heal. It asks us to ensure that resources are available to all survivors and that we show up for one another with empathy and intention. So further, I'm here to ask that we all come together and honor crime victims and survivors during this 2026 National Crime Victims' Rights Week. The Curry County Juvenile Department, in partnership with the District Attorney's Victim Assistance Program and two very important community advocacy programs, Wally's House and the SAFE Project, are hosting the Curry County Victims Circle of Honor tomorrow, Wednesday, April 22nd at 12:15 on the courthouse lawn. Community members are invited to join in remembrance, recognition, and support for all those impacted by crime as we reflect, unite, and advocate for victims' rights. It is important to raise this awareness in our county about victims' rights and services, that they are not only available during NCVRW but throughout the year. If anyone would like additional information on NCVRW or victim services, you can contact me or join us tomorrow at the Curry County Victims Circle of Honor in front of the courthouse at 12:15 and meet the community partners there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Hope to see you guys there.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm just going to leave these on the chair.
Next up, we have a legislative update by Representative Court Boyce.
6:07, all right, you can time me. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for coming.
Great to be here. For the record, Court Boyce, State Rep, District 1, Coos Curry and Douglas counties. Well, I've officially completed my 4th session. Too short and too long. The short sessions go 6 weeks, and long session goes 6 months. You know, in our district, the California-Oregon border, all the way up the east side of Coos Bay, and then over all the way to Coquio, Myrtle Point, Powers, Highway 42, Camas Valley, 10 Mile, hit I-5. My boundary is on the northeast section is Douglas County Fairgrounds. And so I put a lot of miles on. And you know, sometimes when you're staying away from home and you wake up in the morning, you're not quite sure where you are for just a split second. So I had that experience not too long ago, and I wondered for just a second, where am I? And I go, wow, if I'm alive, I didn't make heaven, and if I'm dead, how come I have to go to the bathroom? So we're constantly on the move, and it's 182 miles each way, and it's just a total privilege. And but Commissioner Trost just asked, "Are you home for a while?" And I said, "Yes, just for a while." But it is the silly season. I have to run every 2 years, and this is an election time. So honestly, sometimes I look over my one shoulder and say, "Am I here campaigning, or am I here on rep duty?" So, you know, most of us as state reps, because the senators get to run on a 4-year cycle, we're wondering, you know, every 2 years. So we're geared up. I'm sorry I never got to work with this Board of Commissioners.
But you do.
Well, from a state level, and but I've come to be dependent on all 3 of you. In fact, all 9 of my commissioners between all 3 counties. So the correspondence we have and the communication is really beneficial. You know, everybody knows my heart is Curry County, and yet I see the work you're all doing, and I know that's your hearts too. And so I've become, like I say, a little bit reliant on the 3 of you. Senator Brock Smith, running for Senate, he's working U.S. Senate, he's working all over the state. And I think he really has a chance. So Curry County may have the U.S. Senator at some point here, and I'm excited for what he could bring. There's nobody, the 90 legislators, work harder than he does, or is more effective in policy that's good for rural Oregon, especially Southwest Oregon. You know, there's a lot going on with the county, and I understand that, and I'm sensitive to that. I see the work that you're all doing and trying to repair the reputation of Curry County around the state. That's something that Brock Smith and I have done, well, me the last 10 years and him the last 14 years. So you guys, you gentlemen have really picked up the ball and ran with it there and made a difference. Here's one example. The governor's debate on the GOP side a week ago, Curry County had quite a shout out, and that made me very proud. Because Commissioner Bethel from Marion County recognized Curry County for the efforts that you're all making in forest management. So to beat you know, there's 26 of the 36 counties are somewhat at least dependent on timber revenues. So to have Curry County take that lead, it was really good to hear that. Yours truly come up with the plaques to say thank you to the sponsors. Each one of them paid about $2,500 of the 4 to put that debate on. And so down to local Rogue River Myrtlewood and Michael, and he did 4 really nice plaques, and I was able to get them up there. I was not able to go to the debate, but I did watch it on TV, and so Free Myrtlewood took the stage there. A few highlights since it was here last January. Make a note of the Southwest Regional Airport in Coos Bay, North Bend. They are making some incredible strides in you know, customer service. The last time I was at Eugene for 5 days, 4 nights, I had to pay $98 for parking fees. Southwest Regional, no parking fees, and that's an indefinite thing. So, and two, they're getting better connections and more options for flying around the country. So everybody that's hearing me, take advantage. We need to support that airport. Goose Curry Housing Summit. I see Diana here. That was a full 2-day event. I spent a day in Coos Bay there on that. 3 of my committees, number one is, of course, Ag, Water, Land Use, Natural Resources. And so I'm just really happy. That's one of the most popular committees, and for rural Oregon, it is vital to the people I represent. Veterans and Emergency Management, you all know where I stand on the veterans and working on those issues continually. In my 3 counties, there was a little bit of concern that we might lose our $30 million after working so hard for all these years for the Veterans Home. Not too long ago, I was at the Lebanon Veterans Home, and the Roseburg home will be very similar, almost patterned identical after that on about 13 acres. So that $30 million that the state put up and we're guarding with everything we got will be matched by the federal government for $100 million. Bill Gursky from Beacon Broadband retiring. What a great guy. I sat right where you're sitting, Commissioner Coker, when he first was introduced to the Curry Commissioners. And what a great guy. I'm thinking, why this guy all the way from Pennsylvania comes to Curry County, and CEO Coos Curry Electric Bischoff found him and said, you need to run this program. The Crumley family up Hunters Creek was the first customers about 3 years ago. They're up to 6,600 now. Their goal is 10,000 customers between Coquille, Port Orford, Gold Beach, and Brookings. So hats off to him. I'm not sure he's going to retire, but that is his program. I want to thank all of you for the support on really staying well informed on offshore wind and what that could do to our county. I've been involved in this for 5 years now, and as you know, so many questions that have been unanswered. And number one, and I communicated this at the Brookings meeting, I also went to the North Bend just to make sure that we were all represented as well as possibly could be on this issue. The roadmap that the state is coming up with is part of 4088, House bill that was passed in the long session of 23,
24.
I'm sorry. And so we're left with that residual because that is a bill that was passed. And so we had good influence on why it's not good for Curry County. And it impacts all of my ports from Coos Bay, North Bend, all the way down to the California-Oregon border. 400 some million went to Humboldt County. I was talking to Commissioner Hollinger about this earlier. That money's all been pulled back. So Humboldt County and Port of Coos Bay, North Bend are very comparable, and the competition between the two of them. So when somebody, a government entity and developers say, hey, we're going to bring that kind of money into your region, you have to take a look. Well, I did, but it didn't take long to realize that they couldn't uphold any kind of promises whatsoever. So any of that money come to the ports, the tribes, the counties, the fishermen. It just wasn't real, and now you see the money's gone down there. So again, thank you for your support and attending those meetings. Very important, and you both spoke really well. Just before the short session started, it was right in the middle of the short session, I think into February. I was honored to be the guest speaker of the Optimist Club, their 50-year celebration, and it's a respect for law enforcement. I've never been around so many cops in my entire life. It was a golden evening, and I had a great time, and just what an honor to be able to show them respect, and I hope you can do that again. If you haven't been to the Port Orford Community Center yet, fabulous facility. They've just done a great job up there, so stop and take a look. I mean, we used to have, when Senator Markley Wyden would come here, you look up at that roof sometimes and think, is it going to cave in on our U.S. senators, any minute? And so it was, the community has really come together and done a great job there. I missed the 4 o'clock Curry Health Network meeting in Port Orford this afternoon. I just kind of run out of time. I'm always staying in tune with my Coos County dairies. We have a total of 12 in that little area of Myrtle Point, and they just, the hardest working people in the world. So I stay close to some of their issues. Greatest of Grapes in southern Douglas County. We have some terrific wineries and vineyards, And they're having a little bit of a tough time right now because of the economy, the competition. They're not getting a lot of support from federal government, from the state government. And so we're, from a rural perspective, we're constantly trying to see how we can support them and encourage them, keep them focused on the people that they're employing, and compete around the western United States. Because we have some, I'm not a wine drinker, but we have some great options there. Secretary Reed was in Bandon just last week, and League of Women Voters did a terrific job. And there's about 110 people there was a count. They tallied. And so I think Tobias is probably going to be governor someday. I just have a hunch. When it comes to, my first cousin Bev Clarno replaced Dennis Richardson when, unfortunately, sadly, we lost him. And she was very strong in support of vote by mail. It's a very controversial thing in Oregon, of course, so I'm learning continually all I can about that. But Secretary Reed is very solid as well on vote by mail, and he says if that ballot has a signature, that's the only way it can get through. He was, I spent a little time with him afterwards and said, hey, when are we going to, at 8 o'clock at night, whether it's postmarked or not, it's got to be counted. So he's dragging his feet a little bit on that, but I really believe, yes, he's on the other party, but I think he's committed, and I think he's sincere about trying to understand. He's stiff-arming the federal government, the one voter rolls. And I see where the federal government is suing 29 states that are not giving up those voter rolls. And he's right in the middle of that. But overall, right now, I want to give him a chance to look out for rural Oregon. He's been to every one of the 36 county clerks and is very committed to really being available and accessible. So it was good to see him. Oregon Small Woodlands Association, our local tree growers, I spent a lot of time with them, both in Douglas and in the Coos Curry chapter. My goodness, went to the Oregon Hunters Association. Let's see, that was the 11th. That was probably the biggest event I've been to in a long time. There was about 700 people there. The dinner was great, all kinds of auctions. And I think the turnout was somewhat related to the IP-28, the bill that will take away any rights. I mean, it would just essentially put our ranchers out of business, our farmers, eliminate fishing. So as hard as we work on fish recoveries, Commissioner Hollinger, and the critical nature that is to our economy, we got to roll up our sleeves and be prepared for this. This is going to be a big thing. So the Oregon Hunters Association, they're strong supporters of me and rural Oregon, and they are very, very much appreciated. Constantly working with the Oregon Anglers Association. They'll be on our Coastal Caucus meeting this coming Thursday, day after tomorrow. And there again, salmon and steelhead recoveries. Thank you for the work, too, all three of you are doing on that. My third committee I forgot there is housing and homelessness. And so Speaker Fahey put me back on that committee, which I'm really grateful for. So I have three of the best, for being still somewhat of a rookie, I have three of the best committees. And so, it's just imperative for me to show up early and leave late on those meetings and be very familiar with the bills and how we can impact for the shortage of housing we have in the state of Oregon. I could talk a lot more about that, but I'll let that go for now. HCR 201, in the short session, as you're aware, we're only allowed 2 bills. And so very much honored by the Oregon Fire District Directors Association of the 60 House members. They asked me to carry that bill as a resolution recognizing their 75-year anniversary. As you also know, almost 80% of the firefighters in Oregon are volunteer. And that's one of my goals, is to create awareness of what those men and women put up with. Sometimes they even have to pay for their own training. And so it's just a struggle all over the state. It's not just isolated to my 3 counties. In fact, in my district, I have 42 small rural volunteer fire forces. And so those people really deserve a huge debt of gratitude. So yeah, that passed. The governor signed. 4099 was a bill I did with Rick Lewis, who retired. One of the finest people I've ever met in my life. He was an Iraqi war veteran. He went over there a second time for for a tour to train police officers. And he was abandoned police chief for 9 years, football coach, just a solid salt and light, and he helped me carry that bill. And I serve on the Veterans Committee with him. So I'll probably be vice chair. He's retiring, so that would put me next. Trying to get Alex Garlatos, as I also serve with him on that committee. I'm not a veteran, but everybody knows where I stand on the veterans issues. I think it would be good if he could serve as vice chair, but maybe we'll flip a quarter or something. So that was 4099, so the veterans can have a crisis card. Basically what happens there is if they have a difficult time, and look at the clock here. Okay, we'll wind down here, but if they are in a difficult issue and their PTSD kicks in, or they're just having a rough time, they will have a card that's the size of a driver's license. And we're going to have a task force, see how this can all work. We want the Oregon Health Authority to help pay for this. But this card would have all the information. Sometimes the police officers don't know what to do, right? They either have to take them to jail, or they try and figure out a way to get them to home, or they take them to the hospital. You know what the results often are when they are forced into limited options. Well, this card would have all their information, who to call, what their issues are, and how to help them. Get, train police officers as well, to kind of get them calmed down. And I'm just really proud of this bill. I could talk more about that after we have the report from the task force in September of this year. Protecting the taxpayer kicker refund. Every time the revenues are 1.5% over the actual amount of money raised, the excess goes back to the taxpayers. And man, the other side continually wants to raid those funds. And so that's a constant battle for us to be on our toes with that. So yeah, any possible means of avoiding tax increases, rate and fee increases, our side is right there. Oregon's hurting. Businesses are leaving, as you all well know. And the people they employ sometimes go with them. Makes it harder for our farmers, our ranchers, big companies, small companies. We don't even have a good way to track, unfortunately, the small businesses that are leaving. It doesn't really necessarily show up till a year later. So then I want to talk real quick about, the fire season. We're getting a little bit of rain right now. In December of 2024, 2 weeks before the California Palisades and Needs fire, I sent the governor a challenge and said, we need to come up with an emergency declaration, a proclamation that says, hey, get everybody on our toes, we're headed for a tough fire season. As it turned out, she passed, but I think she will follow suit and accept that and get the word out to the public that, hey, this is going to be probably the toughest year we've had in a long time, and I would love to be wrong. You also know where I stand on firefighting. Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Center, we've raised $4 million so far. We're struggling to get additional funds, but there's a lot of good things happening. We'll be training, hopefully within 3 years, 2 Octobers from now, we'll be training 1,500 wildland firefighters every year. Our little 30-acre piece at Euchre Creek. Okay, it's a big one. No biological males in prison cells, women's prison cells, bathrooms, or sports. That's just something we're going to continually battle on. And then, of course, gender alteration in surgeries, taxpayer funded. It's just incredibly painful. I'll be testifying the Oregon State Marine Board on a river closure for motorized use here Thursday morning. And then we have the Oregon Coastal Caucus meeting, and then our next meeting will be in early June. Commissioner Hollinger, thanks for the work you did on the Coast Guard. That's amazing. Thanks for not giving up. Yeah. That is gigantic, and I think long term we're going to prevail there.
I hope so. And, I've got that on one of my commissioner updates at the end. I wanted to bring up as well as propose another idea for it as well, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, you've been very helpful to get their attention, to say the least. Freeman Marine employs 120 people, 50-year anniversary in just a couple weeks. I'll be speaking at that. Memorial Day weekend, I'll be bringing up the entire, I want to say, upper-level firefighters from the BLM, Forest Service, the Forest Protective Association and the small fire departments to review the whole Moon Complex Paradise Fire. So you'll get an invite on that. We're going to need you to join us. Also Memorial Day weekend, a friend of mine that bought Paradise Lodge, he, on his own dime, and donated the property for Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Medford, Central Point, that we'll be dedicating on Memorial Day. So I won't be able to speak down here. I need all three of you there for the when the jets fly over, because this will be the first one I've missed in a long time. But I will be in Medford to speak at that one. If anybody that's hearing needs me for anything, simple email, coachcourt@gmail.com. Questions?
Thank you for your work, and I know you put a lot of time behind the windshield, meeting with a lot of different people and staying up on everything, so appreciate it.
Yeah, my wife, when she sees the bugs, the length, it'll tell her how fast I can go.
So, Court, I did want to mention that we've got some issues down in our harbors, our ports. It has to do with, was it 900J? It's a rulemaking effort by the DEQ, and we're shutting down a lot of our fishery major players. I want to try to get a couple of those business owners and meet with you sometime very soon. Just want to give you a heads up on
Got a
that.
good contact with DEQ, and that's a hard
Great.
organization.
Mhm.
I mean, they are bureaucratic, personified, and yeah, I've got actually a couple good contacts. So
Good. I just hope that the cow's not out of the barn and gone. Just,
you're concerned we're too late, or,
yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
with the fishery down Brookings Harbor.
Yeah, losing three of the big ones.
Yeah, Pacific Seafoods, on that spot, they've been a little quiet lately, so I hope they're not giving up.
Well, we need to be supportive.
I can see the concern here. I was
Yeah.
not aware, and I'm actually pretty close to them as well.
I'm pretty shocked, too. That it had progressed to the extent that it has, and somebody hadn't set off a huge bomb under our butt in order to pay attention to it.
Still 60 people employed there. Just no excuse for that. No excuse for that.
Okay. Heads up, we'll be back.
Yeah, and do you have anything else?
No, that's it, thanks.
Thank you for doing these legislative updates. Really beneficial, especially for the public to hear these things. Thank you for lifting the crisis, the Veterans Crisis Card legislation. I met with, the future post commander, Mike Hamilton.
FW.
Yes. Yeah. And it's an idea that was born out of post 9/66, and they're proud to carry that idea forward, and so
It
thank you.
escalated much faster than I was anticipating it. It
it
went
did.
straight up to the
To
state level, the legislature
Yeah.
from you, so thank you for that, because we were trying to, we were in a workshop with them all here together and trying to figure out how to kind of ramp
Fund it
this up and
locally.
fund it locally, but
as a pilot, but now it sounds like it's got real feet,
yeah,
and it's going to have real positive consequences for our community and our veterans.
yeah.
So
You're aware of that. It's the official number for the Afghanistan and Iraqi war veteran suicides. We've officially gone just above the number of soldiers that we lost, at 3,900 between those two wars. That's how many suicides in
yeah,
a 20-year period, a little over 20 years. So, yeah, I want to give all the credit to Rep. Rick Lewis, who I'm still unhappy is retiring. But, yeah, our Vietnam veterans that took the lead on this. And it's not only going to be effective in Oregon, it could and should go nationwide.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jealous because you all got to watch the video before I did.
well,
For the help.
thank you for lifting that. It was important.
One of my two bills, I still can do unlimited bills in a long session, so I'm waiting for your stem cell bill.
Well, we're gonna do it.
Yeah. So, thank you again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll talk soon. All right, next we have public comment. And the first one up is Diana Carter. Diana, just real quick, put out this little disclaimer. Public comment section of the agenda is an item designated for any member of the public who wishes to speak on any issue related to Curry County. Please be advised that the comments that are made here by these individuals reflect personal opinion and not have been verified factually. Comments directed towards county personnel will not be tolerated in this forum. We encourage anyone with personnel-related concerns to address them privately with any of us after the meeting. We just ask that you state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Sure. So Diana Carter, and my address is 805 Paradise Lane in Brookings, Oregon. I am the founder and executive director for Brookings Corresponds, and I'm just coming today to really kind of reestablish a little bit of relationship with the county commissioners and share some information with the community and the listeners, and then make myself available to any of the commissioners or community members. So first, I want to explain a little bit about continuum of services. This is something that we've been working on, not just us, but service providers, and certainly in Curry County and Coos County, have been working on for a long time, and over the last year have partnered with the Coos County, essentially their task force, their local planning group, to create a wide, I guess, to capture and understand what the continuum of services looks like. And what that means is all the way from street outreach to shelter, all the way to like low-income housing and even home ownership and even market rate home ownership. So we're talking an entire spectrum of services and housing continuum. And this is something that we have a community mapping project in the works with Oregon Housing Community Services for Curry County specifically. I imagine Coos County will also do a community mapping. But we have partnered with them to do community mapping in either August or September with all of the agencies, and I imagine there will be county staff invited to that, especially around like prevention and all of that. So be on the lookout for that. So our background is we started with street outreach services, and then we were able to open a day center. This was all in 2021 and 2022. We eventually branched and created case management services to take people more long-term. And then we worked from there to we branched off and created housing case management as well. And we were recognized by the state of Oregon, and we are now the primary housing services provider for Oregon Housing Community Services. We are also the regional shelter coordinator. As of this year, that's you might be familiar with the regional shelter coordinators because that went through the legislative process quite a bit over the last few years. So our agency at Brookings Corresponds applied for the regional shelter coordinator position and received it. We're already the shelter provider. And so we hope to expand shelter services in the future. We also are the lead agency for the Curry County Homeless Task Force, which was created in 2023 as a local planning group under Oregon Housing and Community Services. And that was to facilitate housing funding coming directly to Curry County agencies for the first time. So this is really exciting for us, and we've worked really hard at collecting data that we've never had collected before here in Curry County on the ground and providing the services right here in the community. I would love to share some statistics, but I don't have any of those. So I'll just say that we do have a new website that's coming online, and so it's www.brookingscorresponds.org. You guys are welcome to go there and check out what we have. It'll be online at the end of this month. We have a website, but it'll be updated at the end of this month because we have a wide variety of services. I know I'm out of time. I want to mention that we do have a volunteer program that we're starting. I know that homelessness has been a talk in the county, and it's certainly trash in the county has been amped up. That conversation has been ramped up for the last several months for sure. And so we are starting a volunteer and employment program in the county for this. This was already in the works before those conversations, but I'd love to come back to the next meeting and share a little bit more. So if you go to our website, you can find our contact information and reach out to me directly, any of the community members that have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to looking at that volunteer program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 months with the Forest Service.
Perfect.
Super excited about that one.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Drive safe.
Thanks.
Next, we have former Commissioner Chris Pash.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Christopher Pash, former Commissioner, Curry County, 94589 North Bank, Rogue River Road, Cornerstone Ranch here in Gold Beach. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the press release that was released the other day. I'm not here to pick on anyone. I'm not here to disparage anyone. But I do want to touch on a few points on it because it's sent out to the public as, it almost sounds as though it's a conviction. And I want to say to the board that I was the commissioner liaison for John Ward when this occurred, and I'm speaking about the ammunition that was bought. I was the commissioner, I was on the board, as was Commissioner Boyce during that time. And I was, at that time, we changed up a little bit during my tenure and liaisons, but I was the liaison for John at this time in the Sheriff's Department. I distinctly remember this because it was something odd for me that came across that you're buying ammo for the department. And I was told, of course, that it was practice ammo. As far as the shipping part of this, after talking with John about that, because I didn't remember that part of it, I can't really say what he said to me because that's hearsay, but I did learn from that there was an account set up, and I do recall that account as donations into the Sheriff's Department from private citizens, and a good other reference to that would be the K-9 unit that was started through private donations in that same account. So, I mean, things like, what I read in this is the BOC has had a long-standing feud with Sheriff Ward. My BOC, I don't believe had a beef with Sheriff Ward at the time. I mean, there were some heated conversations about budget issues, but I think we all respected and understood his situation, and I personally had a great relationship with him. The charges that are announced in this press release, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not even going to really comment too much about those other than they're very vague, and I don't think prohibited use is of an official position. I think there has to be intent to do harm on all three of those charges. I think any of us that know John Ward in the 30-some-odd years that he's given to this county know that there is no intent with John Ward in the Sheriff's Department to do harm to this county. He's given his life to law enforcement. I did look through the invoice again that came off of the website. And the other thing that's odd to me, the only thing on this that's odd to me is there's no county commissioner's signature or a treasurer's signature on this. And I think Debbie Crumley was still the treasurer at that time. Usually Court, myself, or Commissioner Gold would always inspect these claim for payments. And there was a time that I inspected them almost weekly for a long time because Court was on the road a lot. But that's the only thing that's odd about this whole thing is that it went through and got paid. I did notice that all the checks that went to this were all paid prior to the billing. So this is something that was planned, and the reimbursement to these funds were already sent back to the county before the county ever wrote a check to pay it. The person that made the complaint about this was Commissioner Alcorn, past Commissioner Alcorn. And I did notice that he was one of the first people to complain about it, but he also bought the rounds. So I'm kind of, I don't really understand that. And the rest of the checks that were written, to my knowledge, were all reserve deputies, which have the right to have target practice rounds. That's really all I have to say about this. I just, I'm sorry if I went over. I just, I hear a lot of things, and I really wish if you guys want more information about this, call me, let me know. I'll come in and talk to you about it. I'm sure Court may be able to offer some more information on this, but this was something that went through our offices legally We never had a problem about it. I don't think it was ever brought up in our meetings that John was doing something wrong, the sheriff's department was doing wrong. And I don't even know that John even knew about this in the beginning because it's signed by McDonald. So McDonald was the captain, and he may have been able to do this without John even knowing initially. But this was brought to my desk. It went across my desk, and I never questioned it. And as I can see now, which I didn't recall, all those checks were made for repayment before the invoice was ever paid. That's all I have.
Just real quick a comment. We'll just have to agree to disagree when you, don't speak for me, because historically, I have definitely some different recollections. Am I an enemy of John Ward? No. But there's a lot of stuff that was hid from me in those days.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Ken Cunningham.
My name is Ken Cunningham. I live 98650 North Bank, Jekyll River Road. And I've been here before on issues on the Social Security bar. And I'm just frustrated. It seems like we got conflict of interest on the Brookings City Council dealing with the Social Security bar, and the county's pointing at the sheriff's pointing at Brookings, and everybody's pointing fingers. And it seems like this is something that came to you guys that you could actually act on and put a gate up and stop a lot of this nonsense. Put a gate up. You have somebody that unlocks Azalea Park, Lowe Park.
That's the city.
What's that?
That's the city. And
The
that,
city owns the entrance to the Social Security bar. So
They do.
the city locks up Azalea Park. They can unlock and lock up Social Security bar as well. It's an easy fix to stop a lot of the problems that are going on down there. And you guys are sitting here, and it just doesn't take much to put a gate up. But you got a conflict of Brookings City Council that doesn't want to do anything because it's conflict to his business. And so it's just like, quit pointing fingers and somebody put a gate up there. Thank you.
thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Next up is Fred.
Fred Simon, I live on North Bank Road. My deal with the Social Security bar is this has been going on for years and years. Like he said, everybody just keeps throwing a blame. And it just needs to be resolved. Somebody needs to come and talk to us. We found out we own the property clear to the 6-foot river mark. That's behind our house. People drive on it all the time. Can I get them for trespassing? No, your sheriff ain't gonna come out. So what do? You want people to drive on your property? I don't mind the general public using it. I'm a nice guy. But I don't need kids tearing it up or four-wheelers and all this stuff. I got pictures in my phone of trash, dead fish, because when the river floods, we get out there, me and my wife, and we try to catch the steelhead and the salmon smolt in the ponds and put them back in the water. Well, if we don't get there quick enough, they go through their four-wheelers and they kill them. They're, vehicles. I don't want that to happen. You guys probably don't want the salmon steelhead caught in a pond and killed. All we're asking for is some help out there. Every night, you don't want somebody behind your house at 10 o'clock, tearing up, rubbing their engines, partying, do you?
No.
No. So why should we?
No.
I don't know what else to do. Get bigger rocks and put out there and block them? Then we'll have the pissed off freaking town again on our asses. Because if they don't go back there, they're in front of our house doing it. One reason I didn't give them my address. I hear it in front of my house and behind my house. They make sure they slow down and blow their horns at midnight, 2 in the morning. So we got to figure something out. Because it's not working. And I should have been up here earlier this fall talking to you guys because we had all winter to solve it. Now we're getting into the spring. We're having more issues. We got that homeless guy that sat back there. We called the sheriffs. sat up there on the upper end for a month camping. Then on the high water, the sheriff and all the rescues had to come and get them out of there. If they would have just went up there one time and said, hey, you can't camp here, you guys would never had the bill of all those people to go rescue them.
Yeah.
So we need some help. Ted got all of our numbers. You guys come up with some, call us. I don't like coming up here bitching about it. I like to sit in my yard and just enjoy the afternoon and not hear noise, which is fine. I don't mind people using it, but I don't need the loud noise, and I don't need the garbage. Okay? Thanks for you guys' time.
Thank you, Fred. Rob?
My name's Rob Barrett. I live on North Bank Chetco River Road. Social Security's in my backyard too. I'm the last place down on the river that they can get into now that they've cut their way in onto private property, destroying private property. And if you go down and tell these people that there's no camping, they become quite aggressive. And I've called the sheriff's dispatch numerous times. Sorry, we can't do nothing. The one guy, I called twice in one day. He was very nasty. And there's, the trash, everything they've mentioned. And so I go down and he's camped up the river now, and a big tent's out there, 2 people camping. I stopped by the substation down here, and the gal told me, I'm sorry, sir, there's nothing we can do about it. Well, the gate absolutely would be. Right? There's no law enforcement here. And these people, I say, are aggressive. And I hate to see a violent situation happen down there, because I'll protect my family and myself and my property. And if it comes to it, well, it comes to it. But it's getting to that point anymore. Somebody planted 2 poles supposedly for cameras, and that's it. Run conduit, there's no cameras, no nothing. So I strongly suggest a gate. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Next, Jay Marrington.
My name's Jay Marrington. I don't think I need to give my physical address.
Just the town, we just want to make sure you're from Curry County.
I'm from Curry County.
Thank you.
Harbor. I was born in Harbor in '67. I'm from here.
Okay.
I come up here today. Have any of you heard about Executive Order 13818?
I read it on your thing and I looked it up.
So you understand what it implies?
Somewhat. I'm not fully understanding. Like I said, I just read it.
You can look up USC 18, 241, and 242. These are your statutes.
Okay.
The thing that's happening is all these cities like Brookings and Gold Beach and Port Orford are privately owned corporations, just like the city, the police station, the sheriff's department, privately owned corporation. That's why the bickering's going back and forth, you guys, about this stuff. Nobody wants to take jurisdiction and handle something. And until the public gets rid of all this bureaucrat, it's treason. I don't know how long you guys have been in office, and I don't even want to go there. But Mr. Boyce was here, and I'm glad he's here. The only thing that I heard him say that was educational is, and I've done research, I know for a fact that there's gender neutral bathrooms at the high school in Brookings. That needs to go away. Okay? I don't know if it's just your board that takes care of this, but that needs to happen. Another thing, Ecosystems from Colorado does our water in Brookings. I don't know who does it in Gold Beach or Port Orford. Why would we have a privately owned corporation from another state taking care of our water, processing our water for us? Why wouldn't we have our own city employees doing that? This is stuff that you guys need to look into. This county has been running the ground so bad. It's pathetic. And until people realize that it's the police, and I give you all permission to go to my Facebook page because I posted it. I got pulled over by Officer Stevens, and the Brookings City police officer. He followed me in my house in Harbor, drove out of his jurisdiction. And then when I asked him what his oath of office was, he said to the city of Brookings. Holy cow, huh? It's supposed to be the Constitution of the United States, and that's what your guys' oath of office is supposed to be too. All these statutes, codes, all that stuff, they don't work. They don't work at all. Next time I'll write my stuff out. Miranda versus Arizona. No state law can override the Constitution. No state law can. This county is just sick. And I don't know you guys, I really don't. So I'm not sitting here to judge you guys. But there's things that need to be done. The police officers need to stop pulling people over and giving them tickets. They need to get out of their cars and start being human beings. I don't care how much that judge gets for a bonus for a Dewey conviction. I don't know if you guys get bonuses, but I know the police officers do. And I know every time a citation is written from a police officer, it releases money. We have a SUSTA QV account, you guys. And I don't know if you guys know about it too. I encourage you after the meeting tonight to look up your straw man. That's what runs our government and our courts. Our birth certificates are bonds that are traded on the stock market, and anytime one of us gets in trouble and a judge signs an order, my SUSTA QV pays it automatically to the court, and then they send me a bill in the mail. That's treason. I'll have my stuff together better next time, gentlemen. And if you guys want to get a hold of me and talk about other stuff, there's a lot to be done. Like COVID. I'm going to say a couple more things. I don't know, do any of you wear a patch?
No.
No patch? I have a patch on. Nicotine kills everything in the mRNA vaccine that they give us to kill in the vaccines. It kills everything in the vaccine. There's a doctor, Brian Artis. I'm sorry I'm nervous because this is the first time I'm doing this. Dr. Brian Artis. There's so much research and done on this stuff with nicotine. That's why by 2030 they want us all to not have cigarettes. I don't know if anybody are following any of that stuff, but that's what's going on. And it's our whole government.
I have to ask you to wrap it up. I've let you go about a minute longer.
Well, you guys see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem getting together and talking with you guys, but this is going to stop. It's not going to stop until the city police officers stop pulling people over and harassing them and start being human beings and start talking to the public. We don't need to generate revenue by them guys pulling people over in our cities. I drove taxi for one winter about 3 years ago, and did you know that the end of each month, don't matter rain or shine, for 2 hours straight, they pull every person over from the bridge to Dairy Queen. I wish I were recorded it. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Next, we have Dan Frazier.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Dan Frazier. I'm representing here, I live in Brookings, or the harbor area. I represent currently the Harbor Water People's Utility District down there in south of the Chetco River. I stand before you asking you for your support and anything that you can do for harbor water. Currently, as you may know or may not know, for the past 10 years, we have suffered from salinity issues in our well. And we've had engineering firms working on it, and now the problem is coming in is the river has shifted, and we're in jeopardy of erosion around our collector on the south bank. It's eating away the ground. And we've been trying, we've changed our focus from primarily originally from the salinity now to the erosion and the loss of the well, which would affect at least 1,800 meters, but that's businesses and homes. That doesn't count for the mobile home parks that are only serviced by maybe 3 or 4 meters. So there's a lot more people that it would impact. Anyway, if we lose our collector, if it cracks during a high water event, we will be forced to issue a boil water notice by the Oregon Health Authority. This year, with the low flows in the Chetco because of lack of rain and snowpack, and in the past 5 years, we've been told next year by the government agencies, next year we can get in the water. We've got the funding from FEMA, but we're looking for permitting issues. Currently, the Army Corps of Engineers, State Lands, Fish and Game, National Marine Fisheries Service, and there's probably a couple others that I'm forgetting of the alphabet agencies that are causing delays. So I'm here asking if there's anything, letter support, whatever that you may be able to do to help move this forward so that possibly we can get in the water in our in-water work period this year from July 15th to September 30th to armor our bank so that we don't lose our intake. It would be greatly appreciated. I'm glad that Mr. Boyce is here tonight because I have been wanting to reach out to him as well. I have, before the meeting, I gave it to your staff, the resolution that we passed this month, asking for support. We as a board want to declare an emergency, but we were told by our attorney that this does not rise to an emergency because we're being proactive. Had it been a wildfire or flooding event, it would have been, we could have declared an emergency situation, but we're not at that point at this time. That being said, again, we're trying to be proactive, and anything that you may be able to do to help feed this through the bureaucratic process would be greatly appreciated on behalf of not only Harbor Water People's Utility District, but our consumers in the south end of this county. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So just so you know, usually we'll make a comment at the end, but I was contacted recently for
Today?
for some assist. No.
Oh.
It was a couple weeks ago for
Okay.
some assistance in support for this to get into the in water work period to get this done to prevent loss of water too.
Okay.
And then I got a call shortly after, basically said, it looks like everything's going to be squared away and DEQ's working with the district now. So bottom line is, I want to follow up with you.
Okay.
And see how we can support.
Okay.
What I would ask
I will
is,
give you my cell phone number. I am not ashamed of it right now. It is 541-251-2408.
okay, I'll give you a call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. All right, next up is Dallin.
All right, Dallin Notabelt, local resident here in good old Gold Beach. I'm glad Mr. Boyce is here. I'm here to talk about safety on 101, right, especially going through our wonderful town. I was at a meeting last night with ODOT people listening to their proposals and listening to the city council and about what to do and what not to do. And I'm hoping that the commissioners, you folks might be able to prod the city along to cooperate with ODOT to at least restripe the town to see how it goes. Not too long ago, there was a meeting at the library, wonderful turnout, a lot of people. ODOT showed 3 possibilities, 5 lanes with a center turn lane, 4 lanes the way it is now basically, and then a 3-lane like Port Orford. Beautiful. Going up to Port Orford, slow down a little bit. You've got a bicycle path on both sides. You've got more parking for business. And the safety issue. We don't even have fog lines going through town, the white lines to keep it over there for cyclists and for parking. And so this is a major issue for not just me, but the majority of people in the city limits want the 3 lanes. That was proven. And so I'm hoping that you guys can have some input and hopefully up in Salem too. Especially because one person said that there's handing out too many tickets. Well, we're not handing out enough tickets here, in my opinion. A lot of speeding going through, and especially trucks and that center lane. I don't understand. That would be an emergency lane. When there's emergency, people get out of the way, and the fire trucks and the ambulance can zoom right through. So there's people there saying that's going to be an issue if we go with 3 lanes through town. Because I have 3 grandkids here, and there's more and more people on cycles, not motorcycles, bicycles and motorized bicycles and stuff. And having a cycle lane for them on both sides so that they can easily pedal through town. It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer that this should be done, and it would help our economics here with the business, more parking. There would be more parking, and it would look better, and it would just feel more safe and more comfortable. It's like Port Orford is beautiful. And so I'm hoping you guys can, especially Court, to help us get this done. They said they would just restripe it, and if we don't like it, we'll go back the way it was, with not costing very much money at all. So anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you, Dallin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dallin.
Okay. That wraps up our public comments. Commissioner comments.
No, I don't have any.
Yep, I'm good to go. Thank you.
Save mine for the end.
I do. I want to just address the discussion around the ammo that was brought up earlier from our press release. A couple of things that came to mind there. The biggest one is I think I just heard that there is some account that
Donations account.
the donations account that we're not necessarily aware of, and I think there was some
I made note of that too.
that is a concern. We do know that the money was taken out of the county account, and shipping was not transferred over. But I want to say a couple of things about this. So the organization that sells our ammunition, Dooley Enterprises, they advised us that they only sell ammunition to law enforcement agencies, and their law enforcement sales are discounted from what the public would be charged for a similar sale. Additionally, Dooley's advised that they do not charge law enforcement agencies the federal excise tax, which is 11% of the manufacturer's cost of the enforcement agencies of the ammunition. Dooley's requires a federal excise exemption certificate from anyone who would be purchasing ammunition. No such certificates were ever filled out, with the exception of the one that was made for the Curry County Sheriff's Office as an agency. As individuals who work for the government, we are not afforded privilege that is not afforded to the public. I cannot say, hey, we are ordering a new fleet of vehicles at a government discounted rate, which government receives a discounted rate on vehicles, generally around 20%, and say, throw one in for me. By the way, kick some new tires on it, and I'll just pay you cash. It's not an option. That's an illegal benefit. I couldn't even do that with a computer. I couldn't even do that with pens and paper. Now, I do want to clarify a few things. It was noted it was stated for practice. Well, here's the reality. The county pays for all practice ammunition and duty ammunition. The ammunition that was purchased some was practice, but others were not. There was what's called Ranger ammo. Ranger ammo isn't designed to shoot paper. Ranger ammo is for self-protection. So that is not. There was also 40 Smith & Wesson ammo, 40 Smith & Wesson ammo. The Sheriff's Office had changed from 40 Smith & Wesson in 2017 to 9 millimeters. This ammo was purchased in 2020. So it wasn't even for essentially duty weapons.
Right.
So, yes, you can say it's for practice. I can say it's for practice. In fact, when I go to the range, I am too practicing. But the reality is it was for personal possession and use at a rate that wasn't available to you and I. Now, we all know in 2020, Ammo was scarce. You couldn't find ammo. This was December of 2020 after the election. If you could buy ammo, you could buy one box. You were limited to one, maybe 2 boxes, at a rate that was 3 times higher than was paid by these agencies. And it was more than just deputies. There was individuals who were not deputies who purchased ammunition at that time. So there was a lot of necessary clarification. One of the biggest things as well, and not biggest things, but any purchase over $10,000, which this was, requires approval, formal approval from the Board of Commissioners. We just heard that was not obtained. It was signed off by the liaison, not the board. Again, a violation of our procurement rules. So there are a few things that need to be looked into and investigated, fully investigated.
And we'd heard several different times as well that this wasn't just a one-off. This was a common practice that had happened numerous times before as well.
Well, we haven't found proof of that.
Found it yet, but
the reality is there's a lot to look into here. There's a lot to sort out. And just because it may have been normalized past practice does not make it acceptable past practice. And that's what we're finding. We need to make sure that we are operating by our policies and procedures. That's what keeps us safe. That's what keeps us above board. And that's what we're attempting to try to resort back to, following our policies and procedures, not as a guide necessarily, but as a rule. And if there's a change to be made, if we have a practice that isn't meeting our policy, then we need to discuss those. And we can look at either enforcing the practice to the policy, or if the practice is better than the policy, then we adjust. But we do it formally within the body of this governing group to change the policy to meet the practice if the practice is better. But those haven't been accomplished. So there are a few things that need to be followed up with, and one of the biggest ones is this account, apparently. Because one of the things that we found, and I'm going to go over this in my closing tonight, about how we got to where we got to financially. But one of the things that we learned was there was an account that was established without this body's approval that had $1.8 million in it that nobody knew about except the former treasurer and apparently 2 verbal permissions that he got from former commissioners. That's unacceptable.
That wasn't me.
No, you were not one of the verbal permissions. And so, we have a lot to, we are unwinding things that need to be, and the reality is we're being honest with what we're finding. And unfortunately, it impacts individuals. But that's not we're not here to hide the information from the public that impacts individuals. We're here to bring the information that we're finding forward. And that's what we're doing. And some of the information that we're going to find, I'm sure, from the forensic audit is going to be extremely difficult to discuss. Yep. But it's going to be necessary to discuss.
This is one of them.
Yes, yes. So, I wanted to address that, anyways, and I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give a brief, I've done it a couple of times, but I just need to dial it in on how we got to where we got to financially, and how we were sitting on a $5.5 million false financial floor, how we went from 115 employees to 152 over a couple year span with no additional revenue, how those things were accomplished, and then when we had to right size the county organization, that's the pushback that we're receiving, is from the right sizing, from our previous practices of some misprioritization of budgeting. And a lot of it was due to misinformation, because they were 2 fiscal years behind on reconciling the books. We haven't even gotten audits finalized for years past. because the books were so bad. So I'm going to get into that at the end, but I just wanted to address the ammo thing right now.
If I could just pile on a little bit here. Based on your comments and what we've seen so far, it seems to me we've got a clear case of patronage. And the way Oregon statutes define patronage is to use influence in a government setting, to use positional influence that a government official has in providing benefits to subordinates in order to curry favor. So in a situation like this, currying favor, I don't know exactly what kind of favor might have been desired by the sheriff to offer this patronage. But that leads me to the second poison associated with patronage. So not only does it curry favor, but it also has those who are wanting and those that have it. So and this is a classic example within the sheriff's organization where patronage is used so that some amount of members of the organization have the opportunity and some of the members don't. And the way that poisons an organization as patronage is applied as a standard operating procedure is it poisons the culture of meritocracy. So you quickly learn, whether you're a new hire or old hand, that in that organization that uses patronage is not interested in how well you perform, but rather how well you salute those in charge, how well you follow their lead, and, unfortunately, how quickly they are willing to turn the other way rather than look at wrongdoing and address wrongdoing. So there is nothing that comes much good in the misuse of patronage in government, and that's why it is statutorily prohibited to take actions that appear to have happened in Curry County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get on to consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No. Oh, I do. There's some great things in that consent agreement. I wanted to focus on that Port Orford effort there to, I think it was one of the last pieces in the package.
The Opportunity Zone?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know much about that, but I did read the package. And I'm wondering if we could have somebody from Port Orford come and explain how this is actually going to unfold. Because some of the beneficial impact that is listed in there as a result of that rezoning, I mean, they are talking about huge opening up of opportunities as a result of that redesignation. And I would like to see us invite him over to brief us on what's unfolding there. Sounds super duper. Glad to be a part of it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I will call for the question. Commissioner Coker?
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger?
Yes.
And I as well. We have one discussion action item. It is the request proposal for the livestock pavilion. There's a draft RFP. I'll entertain a motion. You want to come speak on that?
I didn't know if you wanted me to, or do you have it?
I do have it, but it would be great for a little public overview. So Natasha Tippett, our interim fair manager.
So this was brought to you before Terry, the previous fair manager, had done all the legwork with it. It just wasn't done due to procurement standards. It had to go to the next tier, which means it goes out for an RFP process. So I put together the RFP for you guys. The fair board has already approved it, and it's pretty straightforward. We just need to get the siding done on the livestock building. It's pretty run down, dangerous, holes everywhere. Everything is pretty corroded and rusty. The door frames, the doors aren't really usable. We also just did have a break-in down there, and so we've kind of just shut everything up, and it just needs to get fixed. So hopefully if you guys can approve this, we can get that process started to get proposals to get that building fixed up.
Perfect. Thank you.
We definitely need to approve this. 'Cause-
And I did have a question, Natasha. So one of the things that we had discussed some time ago was that when we bring proposals in that are going to cost big money, that along with the proposal comes a roadmap of how we're going to pay for it. So I would ask that when we come back and we're questioned about what kind of proposal looks best, and you're making those kinds of presentations, please help us understand where that
Yeah,
that
so
comes
this
from.
is actually all budgeted and TLT money because it is infrastructure updates. So we do have a large sum of money, which is what money I've been using to update the fairgrounds.
Capital improvement
Capital
money
improvement
through TLT.
projects. So, but when I do bring the proposal back to be approved, that'll have like literally the GL number that you are looking for.
Absolutely great.
In the budget. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thank you.
Very good, by the way.
Okay, we'll call for the question. Commissioner Coker.
Aye.
Oh, we gotta make a motion first.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the proposal for the livestock pavilion at the fairgrounds.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Call for the question. Commissioner Coker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hollinger.
Yes.
And I as well. Public safety update, don't have anything or anybody here. Director of County Operations update. Let's see here. While we do that, there is a spot on here for elected officials update. If you did want to give a quick update that's court voice related, you certainly have the podium to do so.
Should I do another 20 minutes?
Christine.
No, I'm fine. I just, I have a question, but I can do that offline, it'd be fine, on the timeline and the detail of the gamble 2017. I wasn't aware of that either. Hello?
That was the switching over of the weapons.
You mind giving me just one more detail on that?
I'm here. I certainly can. I'll talk to you about it afterwards if you want. Okay.
You have Christine from Gold Beach talk?
Oh, yes, Christine. But we'll go into the Director of Operations update and then elected official update by Christine, if you'd like. Okay. Director of County Operations, Fitzgerald, go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Our office performed a site visit to the county property across from Pacific High School this week and can report that the 12,000 seedlings planted earlier this year are budding out. We got pictures of them. Spring is upon us, which is great. Maintenance is continuing to work with state courts to use available funds to improve the access to the courthouse, the front access primarily. They're also the back, but front is where most of the focus is. A meeting is scheduled for April 30th with the state court's administrator on site to discuss how we're going to do that. We're still working with our contracted CPAs to get balances sufficient to move forward with the budget process. We are hoping to work for working numbers this week based on our revenue and expense projections through the end of the fiscal year. Let's see. We met with Caterpillar last week regarding replacing the backup generator for the Annex as it is aged out, not dependable, and in fact was repurposed from a pump station to its present role as last resort failsafe. It's vital for county IT and data storage that we have a dependable power source in the event of an emergency. We are currently testing the actual load so that we can scale the replacement generator building on forecasted energy consumption needs. Let's see, I've asked our surveyor to take a look at the fairgrounds where the proposed fence runs along the property boundary. I think we've got enough money in the surveyor's budget to handle this, so it's not going to be a fair expense. Finally, we are proceeding with preparations for collective bargaining and should have some negotiating issues for your consideration in the very near future.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything for Ted at all?
No, I don't. Nope, he and I have been talking a lot.
Yep, likewise. Do you have anything for Ted at all, Jay?
I don't. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Do you want to stay on, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
would you like to have a moment?
Can I sit here?
No, you have to come to the podium, unfortunately, so everybody can hear you.
You should be used to the podium by now.
I'm just used to sitting up there, and it still feels very strange sitting up there all the time. I'm Christine Stevenson. I live on Wallace Street in Gold Beach, Oregon, and I am on the city council, a newly appointed city councilor, just for a few months, but we've been really busy. We have an interim city administrator right now, Ann Heath, who's been helping us out, guiding us along, and we are now interviewing for a permanent city administrator.
Congratulations.
Yes, and bringing on a new police chief.
Congratulations to that, too.
Finished all the way, but and working, we've passed some new water rate stuff, might not have gone over as well as it could have, but sometimes you got to move along with what's going on in the economy, so we have to keep.
We heard you were the interim police chief.
Not me. We've been working on the whole thing on the reconfiguration of Highway 101 through town. That's a big thing that's gone on with the town hall meeting and all those types of things. What else are we working on? We've been really busy. We've given out a little bit of money to the skate park.
Good.
And also to, through our urban renewal agency, which we're just starting to get off the ground. We had a little bit of money, so we put some out there into the community to help businesses start building or improving or whatever they may be doing. And just trying to keep up with everything that's going on. And I feel we've been moving a lot of things along and been working on a lot of things and getting a lot, I think, more interest from the community. And so, which feels good that people are actually paying attention, seeing what's going on, want to be a part of it, want to see what's going on, and want to give their opinions, which is great. So, thank you. Questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Christine, the Buffington Park has a new,
Oh, the Master Parks Plan.
yeah, what's going on there?
They received I think, a $400,000 grant, and they took down the kids' castle because it was in bad repair, dangerous, splinters falling down. Also, the floor of the park, that park structure, was bark or something like that. So all the equipment is being replaced, new flooring put in, everything is being redone. I think they just ordered the park equipment last week. So they're hoping to be done by the end of July.
Wow.
Hopefully in time for when they do the party in the park every year, maybe to be able to do a grand opening. And then they're also looking at getting more monies to do trails and more exciting things in the park to make the park more user-friendly and just, where people want to go. So there was a big survey out on that, like people want pickleball, tennis, what do you want? More picnic areas, things like that. And so, been working on dog park.
Yeah.
I want a dog park, that's what we heard a lot about.
Do you have would you be able to provide us an update at all regarding Dallyn's comments from earlier regarding the lanes going through Gold Beach and where the city is currently at with ODOT on that?
We've had 3 meetings, workshops at City Hall where the public has been invited, and also ODOT is there, and then our, our Planning Commission members have been there, and we sectioned off the highway into 5 sections from the Patterson Bridge all the way to where we go to Hunter Creek, correct? That's where our border is, and just deciding which each section should possibly look like. The 3 lanes, the 4 lanes. The public, when they did the survey, we had 282 responses to the survey from the town hall, and the majority did want the 3 lanes. But that still is up to the city council what it's going to look like. But we went over all 5 sections as of last night and have given ODOT information and thoughts on what we would like or what would be best, and like parking and more sidewalks, like say a sidewalk we talked about to get from the hotels to the visitor center. So it'd be better for people to be able to just walk to the visitor center, more crosswalks possibly, things like that. And so we gave them our feelings on it and just talked about each section. And now they're going to go and take it to their kind of people, whoever they speak to, and see what they can do and then bring it back to us again, and then we look at it, and then from what I understand, if I'm hearing correctly and listening, I've read all the reports. I do try to follow up on everything and read everything I can possibly get my hands on, that if we give them the go-ahead and we give them an idea of what we're looking for, what we would like to see, then they can go ahead and start looking for monies, put us on the list, get us going. But a lot of it has to do with, if you want to get a lot of the funding, you do have to make sure you put in bike lanes and pedestrian access to walking and stuff, because that's where a lot of the grants come from, is they want more people to be riding bikes and walking and not necessarily driving everywhere. And also, safe schools and things like that, so there's more safety for kids to ride their bikes to school. And a lot of people in our community would like to see their children being able to bike and walk and feel safe on the road. So that's kind of like a lot of it. Not that it's unsafe, but just a better environment, just a more calmer highway that makes you feel more comfortable to go downtown and be a part of the community and, just be interactive with the people that live here. Not necessarily the tourists, that's great, but just the people that actually live in this town could come together more down there and feel more comfortable being in town and accessing it. And so that's what it's all about. So hopefully they're going to take back our ideas, is what they said they're going to do, and then they'll bring it back to us and present what they have looked at and what is possible, and then I think we go from there.
Great, thank you.
I'm very, very glad to see the progress that the city is making with Gold Beach Main Street on that matter. It's just
Yes.
incredible. And then also not a personal note, but from a commissioner to you as a private citizen, which you're not in the form now, but thank you for picking up the job with one bag at a time that you've
Yeah, I
been
was just
doing.
going to mention that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I am now the leader of One Bag at a Time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you and Trey
Yes.
are hand in glove, and I admire that, and I'm grateful. The other is that we've had a wonderful opportunity to get to know Chief Cutshaw through our lipstick outfit.
Right.
He's rolled up his sleeves and jumped right into that, and we're getting fruit from his early participation, and welcome him back every time. So thank you.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of very nice things.
Good.
Very good, positive things that are going on, so that's great
Thank you.
for the city
Yeah.
and all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
I'm up for election this year.
This year you are?
Yes. I
Okay.
just was appointed, so I took over someone else's term, and mine expires this year, so I'm like.
All right. Commissioner updates. First up is Commissioner Coker.
So I had an opportunity to accomplish a bit of my update, but, and that has to do with 900J permitting process that DEQ has instituted. And the latest I got this last week is that we have Pacific Food and Hallmark Fisheries, and I think and Borstein Seafoods. They, as a result of this particular regulation, it's pulled out from underneath them the ability to operate, and they are moving out of the Brookings area harbor. So those three organizations are going to be gone. In fact, one of them went a year ago, I think, which is sad. And as Court was talking there earlier, this is, at least I knew about the difficulties two and a half years ago relative to the DEQ requirements, but I had no idea that it had reached the point of no return for some of these businesses.
Could you elaborate a little bit more
It has to
on
do
what
that-
those restrictions are that are choking them out for?
It has to do with clean water as a result of the processing clean water which result from the fish that come in and the packaging.
They're essentially requiring an on-site water treatment facility.
Yeah. Major. And I think it was just at the last port meeting that they canceled the drive to fund was it last time? Or it was recently?
You're correct. I'm shaking my head in just...
In disbelief.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what I'd like to be able to do is let's pull together the key stakeholders. Let's get an opportunity to workshop with them if there's some way that we can help, because it's going to affect Port Orford, it's going to affect us here in Gold Beach. I think we need to know a lot more about it and have an action plan to help, and we don't.
Yeah, because I know Gold Beach, we're almost done with our strategic plan. I know in the strategic plan for Port Orford, I think they've got dreams for a big fish processing center to be built there, down in their port area as well. So, how much is that going to be affected, for their plan? I mean,
Yeah, there's a guy that we need to make sure
That's
is
right.
one of the stakeholders in pulling this together, because it is a state legislative
Yeah.
mandate, and DEQ is exercising it or implementing it.
all I know is it's one fight after another, isn't it?
I know.
It's my favorite State Department.
Yeah, it's a tough one. He was
Fisheries
being
are
sarcastic,
constantly
by the
under
way.
attack.
He was. Yeah, I know when Court's being sarcastic.
One second, Commissioner Coker, do you have any other?
No, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hollinger.
Yeah, a couple items. I just wanted to give an update on the Coast Guard. We received a few weeks ago now a letter from the Admiral of the Coast Guard, Admiral Lundy, and he replied to Congresswoman Hoyle's letter that was kind of a collaborative letter that was from notes and conversations and facts about why they're needed, why did they leave, what our issues are, what we're faced with all the time. And it was a very well drafted letter by Congresswoman Hoyle and her team, and he responded to that. And if you want my personal opinion, I kind of felt that it was a slap in the face to the community. It was essentially, what did I say? How do you say you don't care without saying you don't care? And in fact, some of the facts he even reinstated into his letter from what we'd put together were incorrect. So, again, my opinion, he didn't research this or look into it more than 5 minutes. So I, again, drafted an email. I copied Representative Boyce on it, as well as everybody else. And I was pretty disgruntled email, as you could imagine, with getting a response like that. And if anybody's interested in the letter, please reach out to me. I could send it to you. That's not a problem. But we need to keep the pressure on them. I've had a couple of conversations with the senator's aides, as well as Congresswoman Hoyle's local aide here as well, just to see, okay, what's the next steps. But I kind of am wanting to come up with different ideas. What could we do to benefit getting the Coast Guard back here? What could also be in it for them? And I look here at our little airport in Gold Beach. We had just torn down some derelict, rotten hangars. There's a huge space down there. Hopefully we'll be getting our grant for a new Jet A fuel tank down there that could support rescue operations for a helicopter. But our nearest helicopter is in North Bend, then Newport, but then the next one south is down in Humboldt. How great would it be to be able to facilitate a helicopter rescue base here in Gold Beach? If they can get funding and do a base here or some sort of infrastructure here, along with being able to man their local station that's already built on the North Jetty, that'd be great. I mean, is it a hoop dream? Probably, but it's an idea, and but regardless, we're gonna keep pushing to get them here. And I don't really want to take no for an answer, because don't want our friends' lives to be for nothing. So we're gonna keep that fight on. So I'll continue to keep everybody posted on that. There's also a Corps of Engineer a meeting happening in Salem in a couple of weeks that I'm going to attend with our port manager for Gold Beach. Because that correlates with the Coast Guard, and a lot of dredging would need to take place at the same time in order to get some of their boats back here into Gold Beach. And then I touched on our strategic plan as well, because there's a lot of stuff happening in Gold Beach with the city, with Gold Beach Main Street, and just trying to revitalize again, and with some plans that we're trying to put together here at the county level also. There's a big push from a lot of different areas to really help improve and brighten up our little neck of the woods here in Oregon. So we're almost done with that strategic plan, and then we'll work on getting funding and hopefully find some developers and make it a nice centralized hub down there for the port. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you for pressing forward on the Coast Guard, man. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I met with Senator Wyden's office today, and they mentioned that they are
I'll speak with them tomorrow.
fully supporting your efforts on the Coast Guard for here in Bandon. They also wanted to give an update. We, for those who don't know, we recently received over $1 million from the federal government for jail funding, for jail improvements that we're really proud to have been able to receive. So this year we put in for tower improvements. Our communication towers, the deferred maintenance on our communication towers have been terrible for decades, and so we're really hanging on by literal threads. So we submitted a request for about $1.7 million to assist us in getting our towers upgraded to today's standards. And Val Hoyle's team is bringing it forward in the House, and Senator Wyden's team seems to be bringing it forward in the Senate. So we're hopeful that
we're sitting good.
We're hopeful that we will be able to bring that funding to Curry County.
Yeah.
You guys have a few minutes for me to give a little bit of background on how we got to where we are?
I think for as many minutes you get to listen to me ramble on every month, I think I owe it back to you to get to listen to me go on.
Okay. So this has been a topic of great discussion, specifically, over and over and over. And I've touched on this quite a bit, but I just want to try to provide some kind of clarity and summarization. So in 2017, the governor signed a legislative act that stated that there were 8 counties that could utilize road fund reserves to assist with patrol only, road patrol. And in 2017, it was a source of some contention. I remember I was there, but essentially, the board at that time decided to utilize about $270,000 in road fund reserves to help supplement road patrol. And at the time, we had about 115 county employees, and I left my post as juvenile director in 2018, and when I came back in 2023, I learned, the first thing I did was ask what the position control roster looks like. How many people did we have? I was told 152. I said, how did we get to 152 from 115 with no additional revenue? So I was digging into that. Well, while I was digging into that, that's when I learned that we were 2 years behind in reconciling our financials, which was wildly unacceptable. And so, while digging into this, we were hit with the cyber attack. That obviously changed our focus. And however, when digging into how we're going to pay for the cyber attack, I realized, okay, this is going to utilize most of any remaining ARP funds. So I started digging into the ARP funds. I started to realize that the ARP funds, American Rescue Plan, were being utilized to float operations, particularly in the jail. And then I looked at what we were utilizing in our road fund reserves for patrol. Well, from 2017 to 2023, in that 5-year span, we'd gone from $270,000 to $3.4 million being utilized from road fund reserves into patrol. So then it became clear very quick. What had happened was the leadership at the time decided to pull the general fund obligations that were being put into patrol. They pulled that out, replaced it with road fund reserves fully, utilized that in other aspects of the county, and then utilized the one-time COVID funds to fund jail operations. So essentially, the sheriff's office had about a $10 million budget wholly, but about $5 million of it was being built off of one-time funds. Road fund reserves are one-time funds. When you spend them, they are gone. So we were spending about $5 million in one-time funds to fund about half of the entire, but 100% of the jail and 100% of the patrol were being funded with one-time funds. We get hit with a cyber attack and quickly realized this is not going to end well. We have to have an answer. So immediately I started to put things together and work with the sheriff's office to put together a levy proposal. We sent out a survey. The survey was very conclusive that public was only interested in supporting a levy for public safety if it would increase to 24/7 coverage. They weren't interested in paying more money for the same service. So that's what we put together. I asked the sheriff's office for what we need, and in conjunction with that, we asked for a bunch of different statistical information so that we could put together a frequently asked page for the public so they could refer to that when asking for such a large levy. And also for us to be prepared in going into town halls to answer questions. That was met with a lot of resistance. We never received the information. And the levy failed. We all know the levy failed. And, hindsight is a huge deal, but it is what it is. We asked for too much, certainly. And so we had to make major cuts. What we ended up having to make was 30% cuts to the entire county operations. Those 30% cuts were essentially cuts made to fund the jail, because we didn't have the money to fund the jail. So we asked all the other general funded departments to cut 30% of their budgets so that we could put those resources to fund the mandated services of the jail. At the same time, we faced a financial cliff of the road fund reserves. Being spent at the rate that they were being spent at, we were looking to essentially have diminished those in 4 to 5 years. So we had to reduce that. And what we came up with, the solution that was created by the budget committee at the time was, let's budget the interest accrued on the money we have towards patrol, because that's a sustainable solution as we look to build back our road fund reserves. That ended up being about $1.2 million. So we went from 3.4 million into patrol into 1.2, looking for a sustainable option, while cutting the rest of the county services by 30% to fund the jail, which was being funded by one-time money. So this was not a fun time for anyone. This was really difficult decisions being made, but we had to have a long-term strategic plan for our county. And we had to look at the viability of our financial situation, which we still didn't have a full understanding of because we were behind in reconciling the books. So the cuts were made, and that's what started a lot of the controversy. That's what started a lot of this back and forth. In fact, it's what started it. The decision to have to make cuts. Now, it's not fully understood, I think, that why we had to make cuts, so I'm trying to provide this information now. So then, the sheriff put together a committee to go out for another levy. We supported that committee, we placed it on the ballot. That levy proposal failed as well. So we have essentially, since then, so that next year, we increased by 2 positions in the sheriff's office, a community resource officer and a civil processor / animal control officer. The civil processor's position was to essentially be a force multiplier for the deputies so that they didn't have to go serve civils. They could be on the road. And the community resource officer, again, a force multiplier, is a person who would be handling the transient related calls, which if you know is a bulk of the calls. This was to be serviced countywide. We approved those positions. They still have not been filled. We've had 16 applicants for the CRO since July, and there's been a refusal to have any interviews. We've had 13 applicants for the civil processor position, again refused to have any interviews. We can only budget. We do not have the authority, the sheriff has authority to hire and fire. However, I just wanted to make clear that, how we got to where we got to currently was a multitude of decisions, some uninformed because of how our county finances had not been reconciled. And we were left when the music stopped with the decisions that needed to be made, and we had to make them. And so, one thing I will say is that during that time, there were we were very proud. There were department heads that made the cuts that needed to be made. They shouldered more responsibility. They didn't sacrifice service to the county. They picked up the ball and they made it work. And that is a testament. We are operating sustainably off of sustainable dollars that we can count on. We're not utilizing one-time funds aside from the interest from our road fund reserves to create a path forward. We're constantly searching for more funds, like we have been with the federally, and receiving assistance with that.
But not only that, but with, our efforts.
Forest,
TLT, that was another legislative win for counties as well.
Huge.
Too, was the redistribution of the percentage of TLT funds to general fund.
Not only that, but in the midst of this, we raised the TLT from 7% to 10%, which is a tremendous amount. There's been speculation that TLT funds were removed from public safety. And I want to dispel that. TLT funds were put into the general fund when we had to make these cuts. 50% of our, currently 50% of our general fund goes to the sheriff's office. So 50% of the unrestricted TLT funds are going to the sheriff's office.
Yes, they are.
So that is not a true statement that's been going around. There's also been a statement that there's $1.8 million of TLT funds that should be utilized for law enforcement. That 1.8 is restricted funds. Those are restricted dollars. Those are for tourism promotion and infrastructure only. We cannot, as much as we'd like to, tap into those funds for anything other than that purpose. The unrestricted portions of TLT have been allocated. They have been placed into the general fund. They have been allocated for use. We do not have a reserve of general fund dollars for our TLT funds. So that is also a bit of a misnomer. We're going to continue to work as hard as we can to find all the different resources that we possibly can in moving our county forward in a sustainable and responsible way. And I just wanted to note, give some note as to how we arrived where we are financially. It didn't happen overnight. It was a multitude of decisions that were made that we are ultimately responsible for. So
we're here to pick up the pieces and put them back together. And I think we are well on our way to doing that.
100%. And so, thank you, Representative Boyce, for your assistance at the state level, and Senator Brock Smith. I know you understand what we're dealing with, and we do not take this lightly. This is, our county services are our responsibility, and that's not a responsibility to be taken lightly. So, do we wish we could have cooperation? Certainly. Should I have maybe made this more clear in the past so that possibly we wouldn't have this bit of back and forth if it was more well known how we got to where we got to? I hope. Would this potentially help? I hope. That's the point. If people fully understand of why we are where we are, I think we can then understand that. It is what it is. Now we focus on forward. So I just wanted to take a moment to get that clarified. Is there any other topics of conversation?
I appreciate you clarifying all of that. And I know we've had several conversations about this in the past, but that was summarized pretty well. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Again, I'm honored and privileged to be working with you guys to take on this gigantic task of unraveling the mess, and I know I'd called for wanting a forensic audit a couple of years ago, and I know we're in it, and that's so far been a pretty good tool for us thus far. And unfortunately, it is uncovering a lot of wrongdoing, and and we'll be addressing that as we continue to find out more. But going forward, we can't and will not allow this to continue to happen.
No. Thank you.
Jay, one of the things that you touched on very nicely was the leadership of our senior staff as well as the people that work for them through this period of incredible difficulty trying to consolidate jobs, yet keep everybody's eye on the mission of delivering good services. And my personal testimony out of the private sector is that I've had to take private groups through such an exercise. I used to call it a knothole. We had to pull a group through a knothole, and out on the other side would be a transformed organization. I think that characterizes a bit of the feelings that everybody experienced when we cut back so much. And I am so grateful for the employees and their leaders, their team leaders and our senior leaders. I have seen groups that absolutely buckled at the knees, and that particular division disappeared because they didn't have the kind of leadership and the resiliency that this leadership has, the creativity and dedication that this leadership team has within our county organization. It's a real tribute, and I'm very, very grateful that they are who they are.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to take a moment to point out that I think it gets lost on us a bit is, and criticized, I believe, unfairly is I want to clarify the situation with our Director of County Operations and County Council. Ted was our County Council, and during the cyber attack, we asked for there to be one point of contact because we couldn't meet on the immediacy that was needed during that time to make decisions. So we asked Ted to be our single point of contact as a Director of County Operations in a triage manner. He did so for a very small stipend on top of his county council fee. When the dust settled in 2024 and the cuts were made, as a Director of County Operations at the time, he shouldered the responsibility of taking on the additional roles of overseeing the roads and the planning department. There was no additional salary for that. He essentially saved the county several $100,000s over the last 2 years by shouldering that and working extra to ensure that the road department is being successful and that we're working towards better planning. Now, we're going to come out of this and we have to get out of triage mode because we can't expect people to continue to do this long term. And we will get there. We are going to restructure some things going into this budget cycle. But I mean, that didn't end with just Director Fitzgerald. You just heard from Natasha. She's back there doing our recording. She's the BOC administrative assistant. She took on a role as an HR assistant and acting fair manager. We have Rabia Lee, who's county council's administrative assistant, who took on a planning role and also now doing animal control. So we have people who are shouldering incredible amounts to ensure that services don't falter. And we are going to move out of this triage period. But I just want to recognize these individuals who are doing these things, and for the most part, they're not receiving compensation, 3 positions worth of compensation. They're doing it because it needs to get done. And that's what we do. So I wanted to just clarify a few of those things as well. Yes, Representative Boyce. Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned if I'd had the chance to work with you gentlemen, we'd be about $2 million ahead, maybe more. My votes and my positions will clearly reflect that, even in view of the cyber attack. Thanks for highlighting the hard work of your staff and the support you're giving them, the encouragement, and that's really refreshing, although I'm not surprised. One quick side note when it comes to our towers, one of the snarls, forgive me, the sheriff and I got into over American Rescue Plan funds is that Coos Forest Protective offered us to use their entire system if we would just connect with them. And instead, and I voted no for $800,000 of that to go into repairing that system. And there was a little bit of controversy at that time, commissioners, with whoever the company was, I'm forgetting now.
Day Wireless.
Yes, and so I fought like heck to say, will you just give me 2 weeks so we can connect with Mike Robinson at the time. He's now been replaced, as you know, by Tyler McCarty.
Yep.
Contact him and see if that option might still be open, because they weren't even predicting funds or expenses to the county. They just wanted to, they knew the situation we were in, and it looked like initially a tremendous way to save dollars. Nonetheless, I lost. Okay, so that's just something to think about. I don't normally speak for Senator Brock Smith and vice versa, but in this case, I can tell you, you have an advantage with us both being former Curry County commissioners, and we are just, as we, the last time we were here in December, we communicated to you what you inherited, and we feel bad about that. And yet, you seem to be the people for the time, and we just are going to support you every possible way. And we're aware of what's going on behind the scenes, front of the scenes, and we're sorry that you inherited this mess, but thank God, I think you got here just in time, or we really would have been in a worse mess that might have been impossible to repair. So you have our full support, and I can speak for him on that. Of course, as you know, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Court.
Okay, it is now 8:01. I have exceeded my allotment for the year of commissioner comments.
Just think what a benefit that is to Pat.
I mean,
I know,
I've got
a lot of quotes
I've
coming.
got a lot of ground to fill for the end of the year to catch up to Jay.
So I want to thank you all for coming and speaking tonight, and we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 8:01 on April 21st, 2020.